Penny Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds.
Maybe shout for Jin as well. He's out there somewhere.
Yeah, where the heck is Jin?
It's gonna be talked about. For a second, I thought that was still the bloody shirt, but I realized it's just sweat.
Yeah.
It's his favorite shirt.
What you gonna do? Splash me?
Yes, that is exactly it. I don't know, I didn't hear that last episode. Well, shit. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Michael, Kristin, Gregg, and I are here for Lost Season 2, Episode 2. Wow, a lot has happened, so we'll get right into it. Kristin, you've got a lot of facts for us, right?
I do have some fun facts, but also, like, come on, y'all, that ending. Love it. Love it. We're gonna get there. But, so a couple of these fun facts are not, like, horribly, like, awesome, but they're worth a mention. Jake, you mentioned it while we were watching it, and Michael pointed it out, too. Michael does give Walt a polar bear, which is an interesting thing that he had to bring, that he gave him a polar bear. Obviously, that was, we saw from the polar bear attack on the island. Also, Walt, as we know, is special, and he was reading the comic book and kind of brought on the polar bear. He also does mention, before they take off on the raft, what if a shark attacks us? Kind of foreshadowing this shark attack here. So Walt, again, coming out of the woodwork with this craziness. This was originally supposed to be a Sawyer episode. Before they made Michael centric. And it was going to be about the Tampa job that he talked about in Outlaws when he was fighting with the guy. And so it was originally supposed to be a Sawyer episode, and then they cut it to make it more Michael centric. Another kind of interesting fact, when Michael is talking to his lawyer for the first time, and doing all the like mediation, things like that, you can see the World Trade Centers. So they made sure to put that for the timeline. They made sure to like add them back in, which is kind of, again, we always talk about the attention to details that they made sure to put in the trade centers, because it would have been for, the Apollo bars, the candy. The Apollo bars are fictional candy. They made it specifically for Lost, but they do show up in another ABC show called Once Upon a Time. I
used to watch like the early season of that, so I do know what Once Upon a Time is.
Yes, so they did appear, as did a lot of our Lost people. They appeared on Once Upon a Time as well. So this last one is kind of the moment. Jake, I need you to go back on this episode, and I want you to go to the timestamp of 34 minutes in and 39-ish seconds.
I'll have to pull it up.
Okay, pull it up.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time was like two of the writers from Lost. That was like their next big show. So
It was.
I watched that purely because of that fact. And yeah, like some Lost cast getting in there. It's a good show. I didn't finish it. I'm just buying for time while Jake gets the time.
I know you are. I know you are.
But
are you there?
I am about to click on the episode again.
Previously.
Oh,
They basically
fast
are
forward.
lost.
Okay, so 8.5 minutes.
You left. Yeah, like 8:09.
8:09 left. Okay.
Yeah, so 34:40. 39-ish. I don't know how it appears on your thing.
I'm watching the eyebrows. Hang on.
Pay close attention to something.
Okay. Okay. So I'm at 34:38.
Press play and watch very carefully.
So there's the shark.
Watch it again.
Pause right as at
Pause
the end
as
of
the
the shot.
pause right when you get to like at the tail.
Tail of the shark.
I think I accidentally just went over it. Or no, maybe I didn't.
Very
If
quick.
not, we'll
You
tell
should
you.
see something on the tail of the shark.
I was looking at the tail and I can't make it out, but there is something there.
Yes. So that is the Dharma logo that we just saw in the hatch
Okay.
on the
Is it-
shark.
Okay, and the logo that's on Desmond's shirt, is that what it is too?
On all the food, it's
Yes,
on
on
the
the
hatch,
food,
it's
yeah,
everywhere
everything.
down there. And then somehow it's also on a shark.
Right. Why might that be, Jake?
Um,
I want to hear your theories.
so all these animals are being manufactured by this organization. I don't know, that's kind of my theory that
I mean, we're not going to tell you if you're right or not. We'll go talk about
I
you in the
just say,
spoiler section.
I just say how crazy it is. We can actually say the word Dharma. Like,
I know.
when you said that for the first time, it was like, oh shit.
Yes. Also, all these other little fun facts that we've brought up at the numbers. Locke says that they've been there 44 days, so the fours obviously, and then he mentioned that there were 4 on the raft. So 4 was mentioned obviously, and then the numbers are put in and 108 and all those things. So yeah, numbers are there. But let's get to this episode, shall we?
yes, let's get to it.
We start off this episode with the raft aftermath. We see all the flames and things. This is obviously after they've taken Walt and have taken off. We see Sawyer come up out of the water. Thank you, Jesus. Sawyer's alive. I can be okay and happy now. Because I do remember, like, I need to know if my man's okay. After waiting all this time, I need to know. We do hear Michael screaming, Walt, Walt, Walt. That's how we left season 1, of him screaming in the water for Walt. We do hear Jin. Sawyer kind of has to make this decision because he needs to figure out who he's going to go after. He does see a piece of the raft in front of him, or I guess in front of him in the moment, whether that was there all along. But he does swim for it and then goes to swim towards Michael. Right when he's getting there, Michael goes under the water. He is exhausted. I mean, you're treading ocean water at this moment, and you're screaming on top of it. Of course, you're exhausted. But he pulls Michael up. At the same time, we are seeing that this is right after Kate was taken. And Locke has now decided he's going to descend down into the hatch and see what, get Kate back and things like that. Also, we go back to the raft and Michael, he's not doing so good. He is dead, essentially. And my man saves him. Yay, Sawyer. You're so good. We love you. Brings Michael back. And then we kind of get into this, you're okay, we're okay. Crap, what's happened to us? We don't know. And then we get a flashback. Oh, the flashbacks. Yay, we have Susan again. Like, are we kidding me? This is like ridiculous. We see Michael sitting in a lawyer's office, and he's talking about how he's going over the case and how Susan wants to take Walt. We know this story very well, but this is like the in-between part of that. We know what happens because obviously he gets Walt, but this is him fighting for Walt before he essentially just gives him up and doesn't see him again until, of course, Susan dies. Thank you. We're all so happy about that. But it's just these moments that he's kind of, this lawyer is like, this is going to be a battle, dude. Like, you are going to have a battle on your hands. This is like, he even brings up, this is David versus Goliath. And he's like, I don't care. It's my son. I'm fighting for my son. And we do see that he, even when he talked to Susan, when we were starting to get little bits of this before we get to this whole section of it. In those previous episodes, he didn't want, this wasn't his choice. Like, this is Susan, and we're gonna get later in the episode when I just completely trash the woman. But yeah, I mean, we already know how we all feel about Susan and Brian on this podcast. So, Jake, I'm gonna stop you here. Walk me through you watching this for the first time, as seeing like this aftermath of the raft and Locke's descending down. We know where we had just left off, and then going into this first flashback. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm glad to see really the two big plot lines going on, which is the hatch and then the raft. Really getting to see follow-ups to both of those, because that's what we've all had questions about up to this point. And so immediately, I mean, I noticed the fact that it's just Michael and Sawyer. Jin is nowhere to be found, and we're just wondering, where is Jin? And I also noticed, like, obviously it's like the practice to save someone, or the way to save someone, but obviously Sawyer is using what he's learned from Jack of pounding on someone's chest to...
Hey, don't give Jack credit in my man's moment, okay? Just kidding. Go ahead.
No, I was like, oh wow, yeah, they're calling back to Jack a little bit, so Sawyer clearly picked things up. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing here is, of course, Michael in the moment throughout this episode is gonna be blaming Sawyer for everything that just happened.
Oh, we're getting started on it next little section,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have words.
I can understand his reaction to it, but also I understand, like, we'll get to it, but yeah, I understood both sides there. And then, Locke descending into the hatch. I liked how we're seeing everything that happened in the meantime while Jack is about to descend down. Like, I liked getting all of what was happening at that time, where Kate went, and so I was really liking following up on both the plot lines and giving us context. So
Filling in the blanks, if you will. Michael, Gregg, anything you guys have on this opening?
I remember just on the episode as a whole that I remember my first reaction when I watched this episode out live of just pure anger when I was like the opposite of Kristin, where I was so excited about the hatch stuff and the raft stuff was like, okay, I can take it or leave it. So the fact that they ended this episode at the same point they ended the last episode and didn't give us, any conclusion as to what happens after Desmond has the gun at Jack's head, Locke's head. I just remember being so pissed. You're going to make me wait another week. I've already waited a week for this one, and you're still going to make me wait. Luckily, we don't have to wait as long. But I agree. I totally understand Michael's frustration, and I think it is just that frustration. Like, I don't think anyone's really at fault here, but he's just had his son taken. And yeah, I do love Locke's excitement when he goes down the hatch, and this is just what I appreciate about Locke as a character, the absolute giddy excitement that he has about all this stuff that's happening, like taking his shoes off and looking around. It's like, this is all he's waited for so long, and it's finally here, and it doesn't turn out the way he was expecting.
Gregg?
I really enjoyed the Sawyer and Michael portions, mostly because I didn't realize how much I liked them as like a dummy buddy frenemy duo.
Yeah,
it's the perfect mix right there.
Yeah. No, it is. It's like I had mentioned, in our previous episode, I hated Man of Science, Man of Faith because I'm like, I need to know what's happening. Like, that to me was like, yes, the hatch is blown up. That's fine. I think that needs to wait. I need to know what's happening to my people. Are they okay? What's like, are they good? Like, where's Walt? Like, all these things. So I was more focused like on the raft, like Michael mentioned. So for me to like us to pick this up right there, I was like, okay, thank God. And then Sawyer, like, it's just like one of those like, okay, everybody's okay. I hear everybody screaming. We're good. But going into our next spot here, we have Sawyer and Michael starting to like kind of bicker here a little bit. He's screaming for Walt. He's telling him to conserve his energy. He's like, I'm going to keep screaming, like, do what I want. Leave me alone. Like, I'm screaming for my kid. That's all I have right now. And so we do start to see this like, oh, we know where this is going to go. This is going to end in not a great moment. They like hopefully are going to bond together, but we see that this is not a trauma bonding moment. This is a blame sesh here. We jump over to Locke, in the hatch. He's like Michael was talking about, he's very giddy. He's taking his shoes off. He's looking around. This is where we see the Dharma logo. We see all these things. He's looking, puts the blinds open, he's kind of just looking around. And then he stumbles upon Kate. Kate obviously goes, behind you, dude, and we see Desmond. And this is kind of where that again leads us to now we were left with these gaps in the last episode, and now we're starting to fill in those blanks a little bit. Then we go back to the raft. Here's where I do understand both sides. I am a parent. I would be absolutely beside myself if something like this happened in this moment. But Michael is just overly a dick. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But he was very much overly a dick in this moment. We see that now Sawyer is starting to yell for Jin. Yeah, did you forget? There's another guy. Michael, again, parent, you're concerned about Walt. I get it. But there is another person that literally it seems like everybody forgot about. But then this is where Michael takes the first dig where we really see it. He's like, thought we had to conserve our energy. You should be excited or happy or appreciative that he's looking for Jin. It's just that first initial dig, where you're just going to start picking away. And then this is where we just start to see them battle it out. We see him and Michael go at it about he's blaming him. It's because you've made me fire the flare, and it's because you made sure to hold on to your little friend there, the gun. Meanwhile, all the while, we have a shark that's trying to attack them from underneath here. And it kind of, again, is the point of that we have bigger fish to fry, no pun intended, because of the shark, and I thought I was really clever there. But we have this kind of a bigger situation here. This is not the time for this petty of you shot, he shot, flare was up, we need to figure out what we're doing. Walt is now gone. We have a shark that's trying to attack us. Where the hell is Jin? Where the hell are we? We're in the middle of the ocean on this little pieces of bamboo that we strung together here. So just a lot of bickering, and I just feel again, I understand as a parent, so I'm not going to harp on Michael too much, but he was just overly being a dick for no reason. Obviously for the frustration and scaredness of where's my son. I will allow it, but don't come for my man. No, I'm just kidding.
I guess I'll just stop bleeding then.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite lines of all time. Because even, that's what I'm saying, he's even blaming him for the shark being around. Michael, stop. Just please stop at this point. Which I know we'll get into more talking about this, but then we also head over to the first time that I really want to, I know we're all going to pick Susan. I have a couple people I might pick otherwise because I know you guys are all going to pick Susan. We get to mediation, and this lawyer bitch is just as bad as, her just, again, taking these unnecessary digs. He didn't see him for a year because of Susan. All of these reasons are because of Susan. Not he's some deadbeat dad that you're portraying him out to be. Susan did this. And so, yeah, I can't stand her in this moment, but we do see that mediation and Michael just getting even more frustrated. He does bring this up, wasn't my choice. Wasn't my choice. And then they're bringing up her paying for the medical bills. She's now throwing this back in his face, which we all knew was going to happen. It's just, fuck Susan, fuck the lawyer, all of them. Fuck Brian. I don't even care. He's there, but whatever. Ding, ding, ding. So Jake, first time watching this, what are your thoughts here? I know that we were getting kind of scratching the surface of this conversations with Michael and Sawyer, and then obviously a little bit of the hatch, and then also I will allow all the counters to keep going up on all the FUs. So go for it, Jake.
Yeah, well, I'll get to a big FU later when we talk about John Locke, because Kevin's not here to do it. But yeah, the raft conversation, I get why Michael is frustrated, but I also get from Sawyer's perspective of Sawyer's not really to blame for Walt getting taken here. He tried to save him and they were just quicker on the trigger. So I wasn't gonna blame him for that. But again, also Michael rightfully being worried about his son getting kidnapped, so I get that too. So I like the conversation between these two characters. Um, and then yeah, the hatch stuff. Just like I was excited to see more of Desmond. I'm excited to like get to know this character because there's so much like mystery and intrigue to this guy that I want to know more about. And I was honestly half expecting I was expecting, honestly, in a lot of these flashbacks this season that we were gonna get him popping in everywhere. Like he was just gonna be in this character's story, and then all of a sudden we're gonna see him somehow in another character's story. So I was almost somehow expecting him to show up in Michael's backstory here in some way, but it makes sense that he wasn't in this case. But no, I'm just really intrigued by a lot of it.
Yeah.
Turns out he's Michael's lawyer. That fun little cameo for Desmond. The only positive I didn't know that when you mentioned at the beginning about this maybe being a Sawyer episode earlier, I think it was such a good call to have it be a Michael episode in the end. Because it works so well for the story. The downside, it means we do get more Susan, but at least we get to bring back the much loved Susan fuck you counter. There's no Brian this episode, but we can at least say fuck you, Susan.
He's mentioned. He's fair game.
Yeah, she's just terrible, so terrible, and yet Gregg's got the sign. Like bringing up the medical records of mediation, and then she sits there with this look of she feels bad about it. You don't feel bad. You're pursuing this all the time. Like, there's no other jobs that you could have in the US. Why does all your jobs have to be in Europe? Like, why? If you cared that much,
study international law, though. I mean,
go to Canada. It's closer.
True.
Or become the international lawyer in the States for anybody that's coming over. You could still do it.
Yeah, I did want to mention as well that this lawyer, I mean, again, she's doing her job, but she's also just being a massive bitch. So like, yeah, she sucks too.
Yeah, she's horrendous.
Yeah, all the flashback people suck. I agree with Gregg as well on the relationship between Michael and Sawyer. I think it's such a fun relationship that we didn't see that much in season one. Like, we saw them building the raft and there was a bit of tension there, but just seeing them hang out in this, contentious way here, it was so much fun. I think they have great chemistry together. I also, just a little side point, I like the fact he always calls him Mike. It's like, Sawyer, even with Michael, he has to have a nickname.
Right. But it's not even like a Freckles or whatever. It's literally like Michael. People call Michael's Mike, but it's just so funny. Gregg, what do you have on this section here?
Not much, really. I mean, you guys pretty much covered it all.
The one thing I do want to point out too, that we get kind of the setup that we're going to get into this next section, so I'm going to bring it up, is Desmond asks Locke, "Are you him?" So we're like, what does this mean? Obviously, we get this right after this flashback. But before we get to that, we have the moment of Sawyer just being a badass, of ripping out his own bullet.
Oh God, that was gross.
Come on. Like, you cannot get more badass than Sawyer in this moment. And he's still hot doing it. Like, I mean, I don't know if I can be turned on or grossed out at the same time. Like, it's just one of those things.
He has two full fingers inside his shoulder.
Like I said, I've never been more turned on and grossed out in my entire life. I was like, he's so awesome. Listen, it's Sawyer. Things happen with Sawyer. I don't know what to tell you. But we do get back into the hatch where Desmond again is like, "Are you him?" And he brings up, what did one snowman say to another snowman? And Locke's like, shit, I didn't think this one out. Locke's like, oh yeah, totally him. And then he's like, oh, oops. And so he's like, you're not him, blah, blah, blah. He then starts to bring them out because he wants to tie them up. We do see, like you guys even mentioned in the episode, all of those tally marks, like to put it into perspective. I love, we say it so much, the attention to detail, but like to put the tally marks so that you can get an idea of how long Desmond's been down here is just like kind of mind blowing, but they made a point to like make it a thing. We also see back at the caves where we're filling in these blanks here. This is where Jack decides that he's gonna go after them now. Hurley is pissed. What about wait until the sun comes up? What are you doing? Like, why are we doing this? Jack basically like, I don't care. I'm leaving. It's Kate. I've got to go. For a good reason though, because look what happened. We needed Jack to like come down there and at least assist in some way. We do see a very always cute moment with Charlie and Claire to then get ruined by the Virgin Mary. I never thought I would say that the Virgin Mary is ruining things, but there she is in all of her glory. Which we know Claire does not. Poor Claire. We know that that is not just a Virgin Mary. It is filled with a drug that Charlie just happens to be addicted to and just recently kicked. But we do see that. I mean, it's not broken open. It is there. It's solid. So we're made to believe that maybe he hasn't relapsed here and he's just holding on to it. But for sure it's something to take note of because we know that happened at the end of season 1.
Yes.
But even Claire says, I didn't know you were so religious. He's like, oh, I'm not. Just thought it might come in handy to have around.
Yeah.
You never know. We do then get back to the raft where Sawyer and Mike get into an even bigger fight, and he's blaming him, kicks him off of the raft. I'm like, dude, it's not a raft anymore. You're literally on a pile of sticks right now. But okay, sure, you do you. But he's blaming him for them taking Walt and the gun and all these things, which we already knew that he was upset about Sawyer having the gun on this raft anyway. But like, I mean, we'll see later on in the episode how useful that gun turned out to be.
Yes.
But we see Sawyer like screw you. I'm done taking this shit from you. I'm out of here. Jumps off to go to another piece of a smaller bamboo section, but hops back on there again. Like, I have to mention, this man has been shot in the shoulder, and it's so difficult to lift yourself onto anything out of water and with one arm not functional. Like, he does a really good job of showing the pain and all the, like, how hard it is for him to actually get up onto these pieces of the raft and things. But he looks back and he's like, I was trying to save your damn kid. Like, shut up. Like, stop with this bullshit. Like, I've been here for you. I'm not your enemy. Like, stop this bullshit. We then get to flashback with Susan. Yay, us. Worst day of my life that I have to listen to this bitch talk. But she wants to chat with Michael. No lawyers. I just want to chat. But you can bring in your lawyer if you want. It's always, we'll talk about manipulation. John Locke, take some notes here, because even John Locke cannot manipulate as well as Susan. Because in this moment, oh my God, for her to then make this Michael's fault, like, just, thank you. Hold the sign up, because fuck you, Susan. This is horrendous. She literally is causing all this, but because he wanted to fight for his son like a good dad should, and he's not a deadbeat dad, now it's his fault because he's doing all this. Bitch, sit down. Like, it was a lot. It was a lot. So Jake, talk to me about how you were feeling as a first-time watcher in these moments. Because, I mean, Gregg just can keep holding up the sign. It's totally fine.
Yeah, Susan sucks. I mean, this scene had me just like, yeah, exactly.
We just like hold it up for the rest of the episode.
I was just appalled at what she was asking him to do, and just like, it was just awful. And yeah, then but just like, more Sawyer and Michael fighting, and then we get down to the hatch, and I thought, Desmond asking Locke, are you him? I thought, because of the fact that, okay, my theory was that Desmond had come and spoken to Locke earlier back in season 1. I thought maybe if it's not the monster, because we saw Locke was terrified when he saw the monster at the end of the season, I thought maybe Desmond came out of the jungle and like already talked to Locke. So I thought, but I guess that wouldn't make sense either. So like something, I don't know. I thought that maybe it was that sort of thing, but we don't know yet, obviously. So that was kind of my theory. And then obviously, like, the snowman code, obviously we're going to find out who Desmond is thinking Locke was at some point. And I mean, then we're going to get to that moment that I'm sure you'll bring up, Kristin, of John Locke is a mastermind at selling people out.
Oh yeah, it's coming. Don't you worry. It's the very next section. Don't you worry, people. We will have some FU John Locks too this episode. Not from Michael,
Not from
not
me.
Michael though.
He's right. He's always right.
No.
He is. It was the
No.
right decision.
we all just like sit and just ignore you when you say these horrible remarks, thinking that you're so smart.
I know. It's okay. Yeah, the whole are you him section, like, again, Locke immediately just being like, yes, I am. I think my theory at the time was like, maybe with the light flashing up that he'd seen Locke through that, maybe I was like, oh, maybe is this the guy that's been preying on my hatch for God knows how long? So that was my kind of theory when it first aired. I think I remember. Yeah, I just love everything with Desmond and Locke down the hatch, and we're going to get to my favorite section of the episode where I'll be the only one defending Locke. But yeah,
Nothing new from this podcast. I mean, honestly, I'm just sad I can't talk shit about Shannon in this episode, but it's fine. There'll be other times. Greg,
you've done it before when she's not even in it.
I mean, I might. This podcast isn't over yet. Just give it time. Greg, what are your thoughts out here?
I really just want to know Jake's thoughts about the riddle. Like, what would your answer be?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was going to literally go
Yeah,
around.
okay.
I was going around. I was going to ask that next. So Greg took it. Let's go. What did one snowman say to the other?
Ooh. Something about Frosty the Snowman. I don't know. Yeah, fuck Susan. It's definitely said that. No.
I was prepared for Greg to do that. I still wasn't prepared to maybe. I could not.
That's perfect.
Wasn't planning to do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be something like something to do with the snow. I don't know, something like a generic snowman term that would still make sense. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking, but it's probably not gonna be that. So
we're not gonna.
You're on the right scent.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh, I love it. But anyway, all right. I was also like in my head going, let's all go around and think of but I was like, we can't actually go around in a circle here.
I think I'd heard it before. I think I knew it, but I don't know.
Then you were watching?
It's tough to remember what I know from Lost and what I just knew.
I know, right?
It all blurs into one.
It all blurs into one.
Lost is life.
Lost is life. So here's where we get to have our F.U. John Locke moment. We do see that Desmond, of course, wants to tie one of them up. He chooses Kate to tie up Locke. And Locke very quickly is like, no, you don't want to tie me up. She's the fugitive. Like, okay, you could have done so many other things to maybe get your way here, but to immediately sell out her past. There you go. Love it. This is the episode of all the signs. But yeah, he immediately sells her out, and he's like, me, I'm a box guy. Like, I'm nothing. I'm a box guy. I've only just blew up your hatch, but we'll forget about that. I am just a box man. And so he says, okay, box man, tie her up. We do see that Locke does give her a knife this is obviously his plan of let him think he has me. Kate will escape. And literally, though, Locke, you don't know where she's getting tied up to. I don't think he envisioned her being thrown into this, like, very secure room here. So I don't know how she's going to get out of that one, which we will see. But we see her in this room. She gets herself free. She cuts herself free, turns the light on. I'm actually going to stop right here because, Jake, I wanted to get your reaction to her turning around and seeing this pantry full of food. What were your thoughts? I mean, obviously, you kind of early on, you were like, could be. It's on your phone. We'll never see it.
Uh-oh.
I don't have anything else. It says fuck Sawyer just because I want to annoy you.
You can't. See, that's why they wouldn't allow it because you can't even in this episode. But Jake, what were your thoughts of seeing this like pantry full of food here? And kind of the situation that we've been wondering what's in this hatch for so long. And I just wanted to see, and then I'm gonna let you have a good like F.U. John Locke moment.
Yeah. Yes. So I was just gonna say Kristin has magic powers that block any Sawyer hate. But yeah, turning around, seeing the pantry, it makes sense that Desmond has like this stash of food for himself. Obviously to survive down there for so long. So, clearly, I'm sure we'll find out how he got to the island in the first place and what his purpose is. But I found that made sense. I found that interesting, and obviously Kate is gonna take some food. I mean, she could
I would
honestly
too.
try to. I mean, if she had a bag, obviously she doesn't have a bag, but she could stuff her pockets with food for everybody if she really wanted to.
I think there's something better than candy bars.
Yeah, that's true. Um, so yeah, and then obviously John Locke selling out Kate, like again, he's a manipulative old man that just is gonna do anything to get the outcome that he wants, and they could have easily maybe tried to figure something else out, but of course John Locke is gonna weasel his way out of this. So fuck John Locke. Fuck you. And yeah, that's what I have to say on that.
Michael, I'll let you
No.
defend him, and then we can continue on with the section.
It's smart from Law. Kate is the better person to have. He gives her a knife. We're overlooking the point where he does help her. I know, but
that is true.
He doesn't completely throw her to the wolves. He gives her a knife. He does selfishly want to have that conversation with Desmond. He very much wants to know what's going on, so he wants to be the person that gets to do that. But Kate is good in a crisis. He gives her the knife. She gets locked away. She can get herself free. She can get herself out, which she does. I don't think it was selling Kate out down the river. I do think selfishly he does want to not be the guy locked in the cupboard because he's desperate to find out what's going on. But I don't think it was a pure fuck John Locke moment, I will say.
Gregg, did you have an addition to your sign? Do you have another sign as well, or anything you want to say about this moment?
Besides, fuck Susan. It's not even in the
It's on the sign.
It's on the thing now. No, I kind of agree with Michael to an extent. It's not necessarily the reasoning behind why he did it. I think that he did it because he thinks he's a main character. And like he's the only main character and everybody else can fuck off and he wants to know what is going on. So fuck John Locke, but I agree.
I will also somewhat defend Locke here, and I hate it. Like shivers down my whole body that I even say that.
I tried, Kevin.
Sorry, Kevin, but there is a moment he does. Obviously, we've seen in any other shows or movies or things like that. Like, okay, yes, I'm going to tie you up, and it's tied up like very loosely or things like that. So I do get the rationale. The fuck you John Locke moment for me is just like, we know that she didn't want people to know she was a fugitive. Like, this was not something she's proud of. We still are waiting to like really get some answers here, but like it was that moment of him just instantly like, she's a fugitive. Like, damn, dude, like let me wow. Okay.
Don't do the crime if you can't do the time.
I mean, I get it, but like that was my moment of like, damn, Locke, like, damn, let the poor girl like have like what a great first impression. Like, we may be talking to this guy for some time, and now all he has to go on is I'm a fugitive. Like, damn, it's just one of those moments. But
I think they should. I think there's so much food down there. I think they should bash in Desmond's head and just live down there. Just kill Desmond straight away.
Yeah,
live in the hatch.
Straight away. We do see, like you had mentioned, that Locke does really want some answers. He's waited to get in here for so long, killed Boone because of it. Like, still not over that.
He didn't kill Boone.
He did.
He did not kill Boone.
He did. He actually was up there. I saw him push the plane down. I saw it happen. With that, we hear him asking some of the questions, but Desmond is in turn asking questions too. He wants to know about the plane crash. He's talking about how we were off course. Locke wants to know, does this simulate sunlight? Like, we need to know how all this stuff works. Well, all of a sudden we get some beeping. And Desmond's like, oh shoot, I forgot about this moment. I'm trying to hold this guy hostage right now. So he makes him get up and he says, let's go. Like, we're moving, come into this room. Do you know how to use this? We do see a timer that's on the wall that's counting down. And Locke, being his shitlock self, is like, gee, I haven't seen one of that, like, does it's like, I don't have time for a conversation with you, Box, man. Shut up and sit down. Do you know to work it or not? And so he
He's not
sits
an
down.
idiot. It's a computer. Of course he does.
Well, it's a very old one. But we do see him sit down and he said, I need you to enter this and only this. Nothing else. Do you understand me? This is very important. Like, do you understand? And Locke's like, and he's like, do you understand? Like, it is like, he is stressed out beyond belief. And so he tells Locke to enter our favorite numbers, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Hit execute. Locke sits there. Hit execute, bro. Like, again, this is the moment of Locke, again, just like, I might know better. I just entered down here. I don't know what this is, but I may know better.
Come on, like, I understand Locke's, like, what am I doing? You don't want to hit execute and you don't know what you're executing.
Well, I mean, I get that, but like, also, you've just came down here. This guy obviously knows what he's talking about. Hit the execute button. But he does hit execute, and the timer resets to 108. And of course, rightfully so, Locke goes, what was that? He's like, you don't even know about that. We do see a second here where we heard him go, did you hear that? Which we know that was Jack coming down, and things like that when they were in the middle of typing this in. And he goes, then we hear Jack actually scream for them. So he's like, what's that? Let's check this out. Oh, he's like, who's that? He's like, that would be Jack. I love that moment where he's like, I'm a little shocked to see him myself, so I don't really know what to tell you here.
But like that, he's kind of proud. You can see he's kind of like, oh, Jack came down. Cool.
He didn't wait till morning. But we do see where he realizes that Jack has a gun. This is where we're kind of getting all these moments filled in of the music turning on and Jack, all the things where Jack kind of came around and kind of got us finally caught up with where we left off in that first episode. Then we get to the back to the raft where, of course, earlier wasn't really worth a mention, but it kind of is worth the mention that he and Michael are in such a fight of pettiness right now that he's like, what are you going to do, splash me? Which he does, which makes the piece that he's on kind of just fall apart. So they're on this again. They do see the pontoon, one of the pontoons from the raft. This is definitely much more structurally sound. Let's get on that. So he starts to paddle. Of course, Michael instantly like, stop paddling, you're gonna break us apart. And it's like, you didn't seem to care when you did this to me 5 seconds ago, but we're getting to this pontoon. He mentions that he's gonna jump in the water. We know that there's a shark. He tells him, he's like, here's the gun that you so hated 5 seconds ago, but shoot that sucker if you see him. I'm going for the pontoon. Michael just kind of hesitant, like, I don't want to go for the pontoon. Well, what are we gonna do? Float here? Like, this is a solid plan. Not so solid, because don't send the bleeding arm where sharks are loving blood into the ocean. But I mean, Michael couldn't be like, sure, I'll go. I'll go. You're hurt. I will go for the pontoon. Or let's work kind of paddling as easily as we can to get us over there. Like, there were so many other things Michael could have done here, but he's still in his pissy way, which again, I understand because he's worried about his kid. But we do see Sawyer jump in to go after the pontoon, and our friend the shark appears where Michael does shoot him and kills him. He blows up. It was kind of like a Jaws moment. If you guys have not seen Jaws, Jake, have you seen Jaws? Please tell me you have.
Yes.
Okay, thank God. I know some of those older movies you have not seen, so I was like, oh my God, he won't understand the reference. But we do get a moment of the shark blowing up from getting shot, and they end up on the pontoon. And it leads us into this moment of this last final flashback, which is just devastating and heart-wrenching, all the things. It's when Susan brings Walt to say goodbye to Michael because Michael has relinquished his rights. Susan got to him. She manipulated him enough where he was like, fine, I guess I'll sign over my rights. I just want to see Walt one more time. We see him we see him give him a present. He says these amazing things of like, just know forever, your dad. Yes, that's right. Because even like Walt's like, Dad, I've never even known a dad. What's happening at like 3? So again, fuck you, Susan. Thank you for the sign. But he's like, I will always love you. That will never change. I will always love you. Remember that. To the point where he even like says to Susan, hey, make sure, can you tell him that I gave him the bear, like from time to time? Can you like just mention me? She's like, of course. We know damn well she ain't saying shit about Michael because she hit all the letters. You're a bitch, Susan.
Yeah.
But also, I have to point this out because this royally pissed me off. You just got your way after manipulating a man several times throughout and using this kid to dangle in front of him. The bitch couldn't even show up on time to this meeting. Oh, yes. Thank you. Nothing irritated me more in that moment. I mean, there's a lot to be irritated about in that moment, but like that, we're starting off that. You couldn't even show up on time. And then she's like, oh, the movers, it's so crazy. Like the movers are coming. She's like all about her trip. He does not care. He's there for his kid. Like, ugh, fuck Susan. All right. Let's unpack before we get to this finale here, or this final.
Yeah, I was definitely worried for Sawyer here. I'm like, they're not gonna kill off Sawyer by a shark here, but at least I hoped not. But I was definitely a little worried for him in this moment.
If they did, we'd have a sign that said "fuck the shark." So
yeah, we'd still say "fuck Susan" anyway. Blame her.
We would. So we'd blame Susan for the shark attack.
Thank the shark.
Yeah. So, obviously, that happened. And then, Michael ends up with point blank accuracy shooting the shark at the last possible second. So good on Michael. And obviously then we flash back to the moment, as you mentioned, Kristin, and this moment of like Michael having this conversation with Walt. At least he got to have like some parting words before he was gone from Walt's life for like 8 years. So at least at least he got that. It's not much, but like I was glad to see that he got something. And to give him the polar bear, I was like, oh wow, another polar bear reference. Like that. Okay. So that was kind of my thoughts, and yeah, Susan sucks. Again.
I like that it just keeps creeping up. It's great.
Just gonna, yeah, I'm done.
That's all Gregg has to say about this whole part. That he's just a sign. Michael.
Horrible person.
She is.
She absolutely is. The section I want to focus on is the whole button section with. I don't know if we've mentioned this. This might be the first time 108's popped up, but do you know what 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42 adds up to, Jake?
Does it add up to 108?
It does.
Okay. So interesting. I was wondering what it meant, but okay. I mean, I'm sure there's more meaning to it than just being the sum.
That's just a fun little addition, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more to it than that. But I did forget to mention this. Yeah, my thoughts on this. I'm guessing it's some sort of message to the others, whoever they are. Because like I mean, I have to think Desmond is involved with these other people, but like we don't know, or I don't know. That is.
Yes, we know. We are aware.
You three know.
Don't remember.
Like we see that this is on a timer, and if he's entering those numbers every 108 minutes, that is going to be a tired man.
Yes.
Very tired.
He's going to be as crazy as Danielle.
I mean, yeah, I feel like he's already close to getting there at this point.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I think for me, first time watching Lost, I remember like this just added a whole nother element that you're like, oh my God, I still don't have the answers that I want from all these other things. And now we have this. And I think that that's another thing that's great about Lost is they keep bringing in like these like moments of like, oh, there's always going to be questions, new questions. But wait, I did have like, where's that answer? It's always like that kind of moment that Lost, which is why I think Lost is such a great show, that there's always something to talk about. There's always something to have. Like we're having an hour and a half podcast on one episode every time. You know what I mean? That there's so much, and I think that that's the beauty of Lost and why it has held up so well. But yeah, I mean, a lot of things that I think are gonna be, we're gonna have a lot of eyebrow raises for Jake in the future. going to our final moment here, it's morning time. We now see that Michael is completely broken down. This is, obviously as a parent, I don't know if I would have lasted as long as I did or as he did. Because he's just full on breaking down, where he does realize now, like, he's blaming himself instead of Sawyer, so at least there's that, but there's no real blame here. Like Michael mentioned way early, like, you have to fire the flare. You've been looking for somebody to rescue you for so long. Of course you have to fire the flare. You should have brought him on the island, because you pointed out back when you were still on the island, it might be difficult to find this island again. So what, you're just not going to bring him? Like, all these things. And so just seeing him break down, it's just so sad. Like, to even think again, Locke mentioned 44 days ago. He'd been missing from his life for all this time. 44 days ago, he just got him back. He's finally getting this moment with Walt again, building this, and we've seen it grow in such a beautiful way in those 44 days. Then to have him ripped out of his hands again, I can completely 100% understand the raw emotion there and the anger, which is why I don't totally hate on Michael throughout this. But yeah, he was a dick. But Sawyer, hey, it's okay. Mike, like, he brings it, Mike, it's okay. We got we'll figure this out. He looks up, and lo and behold, they're back to the island. They're back on the island. Not what they really wanted to see, but okay, let's regroup. Let's figure this out. We're home. And we're
Calls it home.
yeah,
I
it's
do think
home.
that's interesting. He calls it home.
Yeah, and so he's like, we'll figure it out from there. They come onto the beach. And they're regrouping themselves. Obviously, they had to swim, I'm assuming, a little bit. Sawyer's just exhausted. He's been shot, losing blood. We already know that situation's happening. And out of nowhere, we hear Jin.
Yeah.
And we're like, yay, Jin's alive. Wait a minute, Jin's tied up. What is happening? And he is rushing over, and he's screaming, and he's terrified. And they're like, Jin, oh my gosh, wait, Jin, what? Okay, calm down, Jin. They're trying to talk to him. They're trying to untie him. Jin's still screaming, screaming, screaming. It's just clusterfuck of everything you could ever want. To finally, we get some clarity of what Jin, we know that he does not speak English. He is trying everything to get them to understand. And what he says is others. And we look up and we see these people standing there, of course, lost in it's Dick Way makes us wait another week to figure out what's going to happen. So, Jake, where are you at here? This is a moment that, like I said, I was going to be so mad if I missed seeing your reaction to this.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad I got to. But what were your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, so first off, I did want to mention the moment of Kate calling out Jack's name in the hatch, because I didn't realize in episode 1 that you guys mentioned it in the first podcast of season 2, but I just didn't hear it, and so, like, seeing that was pretty cool. Again, different perspective. But this moment that we're here to talk about here, we've heard the mention of the others, and then it was kind of hand waved away. Oh, it's nothing. But clearly it's something. We already, suspected something from Ethan and from, obviously Desmond now, and then, the people kidnapping Walt. So I'm assuming that's who it is. It's that Jin was able to get on the boat before it got too far, when he dove in, and then they just took him, and then he escaped. That's what I think happened. And yeah, so then I guess we're gonna get to know these other people in more detail next time. So oh shit was my reaction. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, the fact that you see them in silhouette, that they do such a good job of making the others so ominous, and just they're holding clubs and physical melee weapons. It's like, oh shit, this is a bad situation. We just survived a shark, and now we've got the others attacking us. And yet, Jin coming running down the beach with his hands tied behind his back, screaming. It's like an iconic moment. This Lost is so good at cliffhangers. When you have to wait a full week, and sometimes several months for the next episode, Lost is a brutal show for that.
It really is. Gregg, anything on the ending before we get to our favorites and rankings and all that?
Those were some big spikes. Their clubs were insane. Like, where did they get that stuff from?
I guess hopefully we'll find out.
Yes.
Who knows?
It's
I cannot
completely
confirm or
unrelated,
deny.
it's completely unrelated. But when Walking Dead was a huge inspiration for Lost, the original comic, and then in issue like 97 to 102, that's the introduction of like Negan and Negan's group in the comic, and the original drawings for those covers were like silhouetted characters with these melee weapons, and Negan had Lucille, and it reminded me so much of this moment with the others here. So I think there's like a fun duality between those two shows, comics, whatever.
I instantly thought that too when I was watching it too. Like I thought that's where my head went to, Michael, that it's so funny you thought that as well. But yeah, lots of crossover connections, I guess, if you will. So yeah, favorite, least favorite. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard for least favorites, but
Should we do that now?
All right.
Should we do it on 3?
Yeah. Well, least favorite, let's just say it. Susan. Susan sucks. Fuck her. And favorite. I'll go with Sawyer on this one. I think it was between Michael and Sawyer, but I think everything Sawyer did, like, I think in like convincing Michael, like, eventually, okay, yeah, it was my fault. And just like him being willing to like potentially sacrifice his own life to get on the raft, and like, he could have been eaten by a shark. So I'm gonna give it to Sawyer for a favorite.
I was torn between Sawyer and Michael as well. I think I'm going to give it to Michael. Just there's such a lovely low key moment where he's been crying and he's so desperate, and he gets this resolve where he's like, no, I'm going to get my son back. I am going to get him back. And like, I think Harold Perrineau this episode was amazing. It was such a good performance of like frustration and anger and like grief, and like he was so good, and the back and forth between those two characters was great. I think this was a great episode for Michael.
Gregg.
Well, obviously, but my favorite was Charlie. Like the few seconds we saw him, like he was so sweet with the baby. Like y'all, I've hated on the baby. I've hated on Claire, but yeah, Charlie.
Which is it's a good solid choice too, because we do know that Charlie just got back from rescuing this baby too. Like this is all happening. Like it feels like forever ago, but it was literally
like a big
an hour. Yeah, the giant thing that like with where you know the gunpowder and the still. But yeah. Good solid choice. I never will say no to a Charlie, but of course.
So yeah.
Listen, I do have to make an announcement that yes, I will agree that Susan is the worst character of this episode, but I would like to pull a note from Michael and say, I'm going for generic bitch number 2, of being the lawyer. So I would also like to throw her out as well. They can tie. But obviously favorite Sawyer. Duh. Like, come on. The man's like ripping bullets out with his bare hands, risking his life. Michael's an asshole, like, and he still is like, I'm good. Love it. But yeah, no, it's 100% Sawyer. 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to our episode rankings to close this out before you guys hit spoilers. Where does our top 10 stand, Michael?
Well, we have somewhat of a 2 top 10s.
Episode 1.
Yeah, so we have Exodus, Walkabout, The Pilot, Part 1 and 2, and then we put Man of Science, Man of Faith, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Man of Science, Man of Faith, Do No Harm, Confidence Man, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues, Deus Ex Machina, In Translation, and House of the Rising Sun.
This is tough because, like...
That's gonna take House of the Rising Sun up. I hate my life.
Yeah, I would say it just makes it into the top 10 for me for like all like the solid follow-ups to both plot lines that it gave us, and just like um and then like that cliffhanger is just amazing, makes me want to continue to watch more. So unfortunately, yeah, House of the Rising Sun is going to get booted off the top 10. So
Hey, don't say, hey, it's not over yet. I'm saving House of the Rising Sun. I'm putting this out of the top 10. Just throw it out.
I'm at the point now where like this top 10 is so solid and it's so tricky to get something to break it. And I don't know. I think this is a fantastic episode, like a really good episode. But I think I enjoy House of the Rising Sun more.
I agree.
I would personally put it just outside.
Yes.
We're not ranking specifically anymore, just the top 10 for
I
this.
think we discussed that like once we get through 10 plus episodes of 2, we could have, but like we will discuss if it breaks our main top 10, but I think each season will have their own top 10 too, right? I thought that's
that'll work.
Personally, I wouldn't put this in the top 10. Fantastic episode, like every episode of Lost, but yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I would put it, I agree, like an 11. You can't have House of the Rising Sun. You can't have it. Gregg, where are you putting it?
Personally, for me, I wish I could take out Man of Science, Man of Faith, and swap them because it's basically the same story, but you get more out of it in this episode.
That's fair.
I don't know. I guess whatever place that's in, put on top of it because it's better.
Okay, so that's
Jake put it, or Gregg put it at 6, Jake put it at 10, and Michael, I put it at 11. Where'd you put it, Michael?
I can put it at 11, I think.
Yeah, I did. Oh my God, we got raised by another at 12. Jesus.
I know.
Yeah, I'll go with 11 just so
better than
that way
that.
it doesn't go into the top 10.
Okay.
I'd put it just behind
basic.
Solitary, which is 12.
Again, it's the same episode essentially.
Yeah.
But you get more in this one.
So Raised by Another's at 11?
It's 13.
Ouch. That hurts.
Bring these back up.
Yeah, wherever. I don't think it breaks top 10. So sounds like that's where we're good with that.
Okay, yep. 11 works. All right. Well, I'll let you guys get to your spoilers quickly, and yeah, with that, we will see you for more Lost next time on the Tribe of Nerds. And for Kevin, fuck you, John Locke.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Isn't your lawyer?
I love you, Sawyer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tribe of Nerds after Jake, the spoiler section of Lost. So if you've not seen Lost in its entirety, get out now. This is your chance. I give you so much time of just like bantering back and forth. Just move it. Like Michael's giving me a countdown. Here we go. We're jumping in. Yes, right off the bat, fuck Susan. We hate her. We already know. Hopefully we never see her again. But we can't.
I don't think we do.
We do. We do.
No, I don't think we do we?
Oh, is that the last one?
I think that's it.
I thought we saw her again when Michael does, obviously, all of his crazy shit that he does in this season.
Oh, she died.
She's definitely dead.
Well, yeah, she's definitely dead. But I thought that there's another moment of her, maybe not in that flashback.
I think she calls him
something. I don't know. Anyway, but fine. Fuck you, Susan, for the last time. Hopefully. Two major spoilers. We ended this episode with Jin coming out, going others. And we turn and see these people, which of course then Lost left us on. We know they're not the others, Jake. They're not the others. They're the tail section. It's our tailies. Yay for this. I can't wait for Jake to realize this because we do know that we're gonna get a moment where they're gonna throw like Anna Lucia down there. They're gonna try and get some information. They're not convinced, but they're not convinced. It's like this whole thing. I'm really excited for Jake to realize that they are not the others because the others come season 3.
So funny when we're talking about the intimidating others with their melee weapons, and it's just Bernard. Like, don't worry.
Oh,
Echo's very intimidating.
Right.
Which we see Echo knock them out in like one swift kick. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're about to get introduced to a whole nother like group of people, which is fantastic. But also we're bringing up like that they're like this ominous, they're big, huge weapons. The others like are living in like the barracks. They're like in the
They have a
subdivision.
book club.
Right, they have a book club. They're not, it's their swing sets in the backyard. They're the suburbs. So, with that, yeah, but we do not get into the others. Like, obviously, we know that we're gonna get the Henry Gale. We're gonna get a little bit at the end, and a teaser for that, but we're not really diving into the others until season 3, which is great. But yeah, so, yeah, huge moment there. Do you guys anything you guys want to bring up about the tailies that we want to spoil, or move on to the other one?
I think season 2 does such a good job of broadening the scope of the show. Like season 1, just our campmates on the island is so much fun, and now we're getting like the hatch stuff, and yeah, at the end of this we're now getting the tailies, which is like a whole other branch that we're going to go down. Like I love all the stuff with the tailies. I can't wait to get to the other 48 days. That's so much fun to see, like the other side of the coin, what's been going on. And our campmates had it easy. These tailies had it hell.
I just wish they had given us a couple more episodes of what happened to the tailies.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I didn't get to mention it in the episode, but the other 48 days ends with the best thing that's ever happened in Lost when Shannon dies. So yay me.
Actually, that happens in Collision. Come on, Kristin,
I mean, it does, but
fan.
they end the other 48 days with that, is where I was getting at. But yes, it's official. We just know she was shot in that one, but it's official in the other 48. Another bit. You probably shouldn't be on the podcast that day. I'm gonna have a party hat and balloons. It's gonna be great. With that, the other spoiler is we saw the shark with the Dharma tag on it. I know that I just saw this, so if nobody else had seen this earlier, do not feel bad. I'm watching this with my son. We're a little bit ahead of our podcast, but I never seen it before on the shark either until that last rewatch, which foreshadows, because Jack in season 3, obviously they kidnapped them. We have Sawyer and Kate outside in the polar bear cages, but Jack is where they kept the sharks, and we know that Juliet will mention those. And so this is the shark that obviously escaped or got let go or whatever, but he's a Dharma shark in the cage. So I'm excited because season 3 just elevates it even more. It's crazy to think about now that like where we are, like how quickly this elevates. So yeah, Shark's not done, but Shark's kind of done.
Yeah, the backstory of the shark is still to come, but we don't really see the shark. We will see the Dharma shark again in the Flash Sideways in a long, long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the Dharma shark being like peak like obsession Lost, where people I don't know who spotted this the first time because it's so subtle, but when that when that popped up like on the message boards, people were going crazy about what the hell is this doing on the shark. Right. And like, yeah, I can't wait to get to the whole shark cage stuff with Jack. That's like peak Jack frustration.
Yes. I also think too, like, of course, I mean, Gregg, you didn't watch it though live either. You were able to like, what was that? Let me rewind right in the moment situation. We just had like, it was live, like, so you just don't even pay attention. I do know that like, I saw, like, I don't think I was focusing on the shark enough, but it was something that was like in the, like, okay, there was something obviously there, but like, almost like I was thinking in my head, like, you know, like the little fish right on the sharks, or like, it was like a darker color. Like, I never even once thought anything of it until, like I said, this last rewatch with Kason, where I was like, oh my God, the Dharma thing. So yeah, kudos to anybody that picks that up without being told.
I actually saw it the first time I watched it. I didn't have to back up or pause it or anything. I saw it and I was like, that's a weird tattoo. And then the scene with Kate, I realized that it had to do something with that because it was the same tattoo or brand. I don't know what it is.
Logo, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy to think of where poor little Jake has no idea where this is going. He's even bringing up things like, we know that Michael, you mentioned last time, he was thinking Desmond is actually Jacob and things like that, but he is picking up on certain things, and he's always normally right on these things, so really frustrating.
Yeah, freakishly so.
Well,
he is assuming that Desmond's part of the whole thing with the others in Hatch, so, you know, silly Jake. Come on,
Really,
work it out.
why would you think that? I don't have anything else. Anything you guys have?
I just have the lock thing with the PC. I was thinking about it, and I think Locke was still questioning things in this season, but when he gets later on with what was his name again?
Mikhail.
Kyle. Yeah, with him, he doesn't ask any questions about the computer. He assumes he knows everything. Right now, we're still seeing a Locke who's questioning things, but going along with everything pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, his faith is going to lead him to his death.
He puts a lot more faith in that season.
Well, and it's funny because we see his faith get tested, which is where we get the end of season 2 and all those things too. So he kind of becomes that man of science a little bit. But yeah, oh, so much crazy.
I was wrong.
I was wrong.
Oh.
I know. Like, thank you for admitting that, Locke.
What do you think Walt's first words were?
What do we think Walt's first words were?
Yeah.
Fuck you, Susan.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
I was gonna say we have to go back, but okay.
I mean, fuck you, Susan works. But yes, no, that
Traveling weirdo baby.
it was shark and polar bear. Those were the first words. Yeah. With that, I mean, continue on because it's just it gets better and better from here on out. Like it keeps escalating. It's so good. So we'll be back for another episode on the Tribe of Nerds. Like, comment, subscribe if you're gonna comment and it's a spoiler, all the way down because Jake can't help himself. So with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.